So I will discuss autism with the kind of induced autism, the one that's induced by inoculations. And, of course, there are people who are born that way, which is a very small number indeed, but most of them are made that way by the school, by parents. And I've seen some awful things in my life, how parents treat their children, especially the bright ones. They demoralize their own children. And those are the parents, possibly, who are misunderstood, what Savage says. The parents who destroyed their own children. And don't you think that parents don't destroy their own children? Most parents do to some degree. Some of them are just simply practicing Munchausen by proxy. They create the problem and then unconsciously create the problem. And if you're bright enough, you can actually see some of those people when they're interviewed on television. You can see that the mother, I've seen one where the mother was degrading this boy right in front, talking to him like he was a stupid idiot. The kid was as bright as he could be. And the silly little stupid old father sat there and let it happen. But the trouble is we don't look at it right, because we're all kind of nuts in some way. We're all sympathetic for the mama to put up with this poor little kid, but she's created it. She created it, and the father, well, he just lets it happen. He's just like a rooster on the fence. And so therefore, whatever happens, he don't get any blame. Sort of, but that's how he thinks. So anyway, we can talk about that if you want to. But there's very few cases of real autism. It's all created. And the medical people, and I told you about medicine, and I told you the other night about the VA, that the country, don't you get it? The country is infected. It's infiltrated with our enemies. This is not paranoia. It's a fact. They go for the healthcare system. They go for the social services and healthcare system so they can decide what disease is and what common sense is and what it isn't. And that's what's wrong with the schools. I heard one of the politicians running for president. I just heard we said I'm not going to give any credit to any one of them, but you can guess which one it is if you want. Just want to say what he said. He said, I know there's something wrong with the school system. This is not his words exactly, but my interpretation of it. He says, but the problem with the school system, the worst place you can find this is in the inner city, the black schools. Now, how did black schools get the worst share of the system? Is it the Republicans? No. It's always the left that have degrading, always degrading the people, always demoralizing and robbing us of our sovereignty. And the school system, you won't find hardly any normal people there. You find always left-wing people who are on a payroll and they're programmed to demoralize your children. And then, of course, it's Munchausen by proxy again. See, so the children don't do well in school, so they get drugs, so they can pay attention to the crap they give them. Excuse me for saying that. They're not learning anything. They're being brainwashed, socialized, sensitized to their environment so they can't think for themselves. That's what's happening. So what do you do with 7 million children? God knows. Somebody want to correct me? It's bad enough if it's 3 million. I'm just hoping somebody correct me. No, it's not 7, it's only 3. So, in my day, it wasn't that way at all. We didn't have that much of problems at school. It was halfway decent. It wasn't the greatest education in the world that I came from, but it wasn't like it is today. And in England, it's even worse. We're not far behind them. And so the pharmaceuticals are having a heyday on the demoralization of our children. And all the sick parents are out. Yeah, you want to call me? You call me. Now, I understand, and I give it to you, some children are born that way, but most of them are made that way. Bad parenting. See, and the benefits the parent gets for having the children pronounced with autism. Actually, Savage is dead right. And you have a problem with me? you call me. I'll show you who has autism. It's you, sir, you, ma'am, mostly you, ma'am. And you, sir, who just sit on the fence crowing like a rooster. And one day's age you'll wake up and you cackle like a hen and become a homosexual or something. Because you're not a man. Let this happen to your children. Okay, now I have said all that. I feel better. I hope you feel worse. But remember, I've got no sponsors. I don't need it, just you. Look, if you have an autistic child, I'll show you how to fix him if you've done it. So why don't you own up to it? It could be you. It could be you, sir, letting your wife do it while you're away. It could be that you have a bright, beautiful kid there, and you can't tolerate his brightness any more than you can tolerate Savage's brightness, or mine for that matter. And you won't dare to pick up the phone and call me, or him for that matter. All you can do is get together like a big bunch of cowards you are. What is it? Something about, when not in fear, the crowd plays the tyrant. Who said that? It's an old saying, when not in fear, you gutless lot. But this is a good... Listen, this is a time for conversation. This is a free country.
Can I jump in with something?
Yeah, you jump in there. Go ahead.
I don't know if you really know the bigger picture here, because Michael Savage made the comments he made about these people who misdiagnose children for several reasons. First, and I'm reading from an article here by Selwyn Duke, who is a university professor and a friend of Michael Savage. He says, first, yes. Michael Savage grew up with a brother who suffered from severe retardation.
Yeah, and his
one
mother
whom
did
he
it.
loved very much and has spoken of on numerous occasions with the deepest affection and emotion. Listening to Savage, it's apparent that this experience instilled in him a respect for human life that doesn't end where mental impairment begins.
Absolutely right on.
It is also why, I'm inferring here, according to Selwyn Duke, Savage is no doubt more offended than most when an irresponsible psychiatric community diagnoses normal but ill-behaved children as mentally impaired. See? He said
they're
today,
rebelling against society. No wonder they're ill-behaved.
He said those who are merely ill-behaved are misdiagnosed as mentally impaired. By labeling these less serious or even non-existent problems as mental conditions, it causes society to take authentic ones less seriously. So he has a lot of points that he was making that are very, very legitimate. You know, for children that are just ill-behaved, well, that's the problem of the parents also.
But also,
I mean, that is the problem of the parents.
They need love. They need love, and the parents don't know how to give it to them. They just shut them up and degrade them because they're calling out for love they haven't got. So rather than admit they have no love, they shut the kid down and make the kid feel like there's something wrong for crying for love. And correction, which is in the form of correction. You'll
like this too. This is just sort of toward the end of this article by Selwyn Duke. He said, I recently read about psychiatrists who are labeling the desire to engage in excessive text messaging a mental disorder. Then there is muscle dysmorphia, or the obsessive belief that one isn't muscular enough. Celebriphia, the strong desire for amorous relationships with celebrity. Intermittent explosive disorder, or road rage. Sibling rivalry disorder. Mathematics disorder. Caffeine-related disorder, and explosive writing disorder. A defiant child, listen to this, a defiant child or employee isn't ruled by pride, but has oppositional disorder. A person with a lack of gratitude isn't just that, but one who suffers from chronic complaint disorder. So he's going on and on saying that everything is a disorder.
But
that disorder, guess what they have?
What? Drugs.
They have something.
They got drugs, and they label you. And this is not by accident. This is happening. This is by design.
You'll love this, Dad. He says, then there is the reason why the psychiatric profession suffers from what I call, this is according to Selwyn Duke, chronic disorder invention disorder.
That's correct. Okay, thank you very much. Let's take our calls.